Hey, welcome to the Night's Cast, the official podcast of WatchersOnTheWall.com, a Game of Thrones community for breaking news, casting, and commentary. Although, as you may have noticed, we are not podcasting. We are live. That's right. Every Sunday during the season 8, you will be able to find your favorite Night's Cast contributors here on the Watchers on the Wall YouTube channel every Sunday from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank everyone who's joining us. There's probably about 6 of you out there, but we want to thank the 6 of you for being there. This is our very first one, but we really do appreciate everyone who's tuning in or who has submitted questions and comments for the Q&A that we're going to be doing today. So you can find the podcast itself on Twitter at Nightscast, and we will be recording quick recap episodes every Monday evening, and those will be released on Tuesday morning, so keep an eye out for those. So with that said, let's do some introductions. I'm Samantha, contributing writer to WatchersOnTheWall.com, co-host of the Night's Cast. That's where you may recognize the lovely dulcet tones of my voice. You can find me on Twitter at the Sansa Snark if you are so inclined. And we'll kick it off by welcoming our very special guest. You may know her as a frequent contributor to the new Game of Thrones podcast, Your Watch Begins. You can follow her on Twitter at KippensK and meet her at Con of Thrones this summer, where she'll be on a few panels. We have Christine Kippens. Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to plug anything? Want to tell anybody where else they can find you other than Twitter?
No, that's the only place where I'm of any consequence. So definitely follow me there. I mean, same handle on Instagram. I do a lot of fun Game of Thrones stuff in my stories. So feel free to follow me there as well.
Very cool. That's pretty much the only place I'm of any consequence as well, is on Twitter. So I know how you feel. All right. Next, we have feature writer for Watchers on the Wall, YouTuber at youtube.com/Joe Magician, moderator of the A Song of Ice and Fire Reddit board, and co-host of Maester Monthly podcast. It is Mr. Magician himself, Joe Magician, aka Matt. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I have the Dumbledore hat. Like, I could go full magician if this is a thing.
I mean, that's up to you. You are Mr. Magician. So.
It's just sitting right here. It can be a thing that happens during this cast, but
totally up to you. It doesn't look like you can see out of it too well. So.
No. I end up looking like I'm like an edgy middle schooler again. Just like can only see the bottom, like where I'm walking, and that's it.
Edgelord Matt. Totally up to you. We'll leave it up to you. Maybe we'll leave it up to the live chat. We'll see how many votes it gets to put on the Gandalf hat. All right. Next, we have contributor to Watchers on the Wall, Night's Cast regular, live tweeting the show under handle Starkalypse every Sunday. We have Bex. Hi, Bex. How are you?
I am, insert an adjective here. I'm great. How are you?
Whoa.
Okay.
Oops,
awesome.
Sorry about that.
Can I plug myself for like 2 seconds?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to be at Con of Thrones, as is probably everybody here, and I'm doing a panel that I'm so excited about that I can't probably talk about yet. But I do have a blog that's also called Starkalypse, and I'm going to be completely retooling it to reflect one of the things I'm doing at the con. So just stay tuned for that, because I really have created a masterpiece that I feel has been brushed aside. So
I know of which panel you speak, and I will, obviously not say anything either, but it is going to be pretty awesome. So I'm excited for you. So. All right. Next, features contributor at Watchers on the Wall, media writer for That Shelf. You can also catch him on Twitter at Akash Smarts. We have Akash joining us. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here for the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. I know it's sad but true. So. All right. And last but not least, another contributing writer to Watchers on the Wall, regular on Night's Cast and a fabulously talented artist. We have Vanessa Cole joining us. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Super excited about doing this and about the premiere. And as you can probably tell, I'm going to a premiere party in a little while. I didn't just dress up for the live stream for fun. I'm actually going somewhere after this. So
I mean, anyway. Not that we would have judged you if you were just dressing up like that. I mean, I'm not going anywhere for a premiere party tonight. I'm just sitting around my house like this for right now. So yeah. All right. So that's our That is our cast of characters for this live stream. So what we're going to do tonight, now going forward, every episode on a Sunday is going to be, we're going to be talking about the previous week's episode and, you know, recapping it, breaking it down, and then kind of making our predictions or guesses as to what's going to happen that night. This being the very first episode of the season, we don't have anything to talk about yet. So what we've been doing for the last few weeks is soliciting questions, comments, really any kind of insights or whatever that you people out there have had for us as far as season 8 goes. So we're going to talk about those. We have a bunch of submitted questions. If you are joining us live and you want to drop any into the chat, please feel free. And then we're each going to make a couple of our own predictions for things that we think might happen in tonight's first episode. We might make some guesses as to who is going to die because it is the first episode. I don't know how much like action there's going to be, but with only 6 episodes left and a lot of people for the show to kill off, I feel like somebody is probably going to die in the first episode. So with that being said, let's jump right into, we're going to do the Q&A stuff that's already been submitted to us. First of all, we have, this isn't so much a question as just kind of like a comment, but this comes to us from Filthy of House Book Bitch, first of her name, fantastic name, by the way, at Filthy Book Bitch, who just said, everyone dies. Yeah. I mean, probably there's a very good chance that pretty much everyone will die. But I don't know. I guess that's a pretty succinct way to
kind of episode.
Well, yeah, not the first episode, but you know, I mean, season 8 as a whole, I'd say there's a possibility for that. What do you guys think?
It'd actually be kind of funny if the first episode, if literally everyone dies, and the next 5, we're just like reestablishing the White Walker culture, and we learn about like how they start ruling the planet, and it's like, oh, cool. So now this is just the way it is now. All right, fine.
Yeah, that's yeah, you know, totally possible. I don't think anybody would be expecting that. So
it'd be a shock for sure. No, I don't see everyone dying. I mean, bittersweet does not mean all bitter. That's of course there probably are some people that would be super excited if everyone died and think that would be a great ending, but I am not one of those people. So
I mean, it would fit in with the very shocking stuff that we keep hearing from all the cast. But yeah, I think this, you know, so
I like, what are the walkers going to do if and when they succeed? Like, what does that look like? Joe, feel free. I mean, you're the one who planted this seed in my head, so feel free to come like cultivate it a little. But like, what do they do with their spare time? I've always had so many questions about the Whites and like the Night King and stuff. Like, what shall this look like if it does come to pass? Like, they just do target practice on Viserion all the time? I don't know.
Well, I think it will just basically be like, so they have, let's say, millions of Whites. So what do you do with them? Obviously, you have giant stage shows. You play music, they do a lot of numbers, they sing and dance for you. It's incredible. That's what the White Walkers plan. You heard it here first.
I mean, yeah, there must be some choreography happening sometime just from the sheer numbers and just the mindlessness too. You think that they would accept choreography very easily. So yeah, I think that's a very good
pick them up
guess.
Like puppets and just move them around.
I mean, that would explain why it's taken them so long to get anywhere, because they're rehearsing their dance numbers along the way.
They're dancing their way south. It makes sense.
Yeah, I would think
thinking.
So. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that everybody die. Oh, sorry, Akash, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I like to imagine in an alternate universe that as they dance their way down through Westeros, they'll stop at the end of the crossroads, and there'll be like a White Walker version of the Great British Bake Off, just to really prove how wrong our misconceptions about their entire thing, for lack of a better phrase, really is.
I would watch that. I would pay money to a cable subscription to watch that.
Maybe
HBO
that's
wants more content.
Maybe that's going to be the spinoff. It's going to be like, what's that show about that horrible, really rude dance instructor, Abby something or other? It's going to be like that, except she's going to be teaching the White Walkers. It's a reality show. That's the spinoff.
Dance moms.
Dance moms.
But their palates has to be terrible. Like, do you really think they're going to be able to taste things very well and have everything be flavorful? Mm-mm.
So basically, yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean, where he just like tries to eat an apple, he gets nothing out of it.
Yeah, It's not going to taste it. But I would still watch.
Would watch. All right. So there's there's the everyone dies suggestion. But all right. So we also have a comment from Brian Manning at Viracocha _in_ New York. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Tyrion is a Targaryen and will sit on the Iron Throne at series finale. This is kind of a doozy. It's the Tyrion is a Targaryen theory coming up again. But on top of that, it's also the theory that Tyrion is actually going to be the one to sit on the Iron Throne. As far as the Tyrion as a secret Targaryen theory, I know it's a popular one, and I know that people like it. I personally am not a fan of it. And so I don't know that part of it is going to be proven, but Tyrion sitting on the Iron Throne is really interesting. I'm interested to know what you guys think as to how that would be possible, how that would come to pass.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen, so I don't know that I have any explanation for how that would come about, except for maybe Jon and Dany die and they have a kid and it becomes the heir and he's like the regent or something, maybe. But
that's
I don't
kind of what
at all. And I like the Tyrion Targaryen theory, but I don't. And I think it's one of those that we will never know. Like the hints will be there, but it will never be confirmed one way or the other, and definitely not in the show. I think Peter Dinklage has even said something like he has like refuted that theory in an interview before. So I definitely don't think they're going to go there on the show.
I think the way you get to the second comment is by the first comment. Everybody has to die for Tyrion to get to the Iron Throne. There are just so many people ahead of him, you know? And Tyrion's more concerned about having a vineyard where he can make his impish delight or imp's delight or whatever. Yeah, he's got his plan, and it doesn't involve sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think that he would. I don't think that he would want to. Really, I think Tyrion is another one of those characters who has had a taste of power, and I guess it could be argued that he enjoyed it when he was hand, but I don't think that he. I think it ended up that he did not. He saw the really awful side of it, and I don't think that you could give him the Iron Throne. And I just don't think that he would want to rule. But yeah, Vanessa, I agree with you that I think maybe the way that could come to pass is if Jon and Dany both die, but yet they've had a child who is, not old enough to rule. So somebody has to be regent. I think that probably would make sense for that to be Tyrion, since Sansa would obviously be queen in the North. So yeah.
I've heard a theory that Tyrion and Sansa resume their marriage and raise baby Targaryen together. And I'm like, no.
Please no.
No.
Matt, what do you think? Is there any way that what do you possibly think could be the path for Tyrion sitting on the Iron Throne if it were to happen?
If it were to happen, I mean, I got to agree with Christine. Literally, everyone else has to die in front of him for that to happen. But like, maybe the best reason that it may happen is, although he may not sit the throne, but maybe he will in a way, kind of like a hand of the king, hand of the queen sort of character. Someone will need to pick up the pieces afterwards. A lot of people think Davos. He's a logical person for that, but Tyrion also has experience doing this as well. Even though the show keeps telling me he was great at it, he wasn't super great, but at least it's out there. And there's also the historical example that Tyrion is based on King Richard III. That's basically where he came from. So if Martin at some point wants to make it so that Richard III actually makes it to the throne in his universe, then he could. The parallels are there for him.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, it's, I guess at certain things, I guess you could say anything is possible. But Akash, did you have a comment about the Tyrion on the throne?
Yeah, I think addressing the first part of Tyrion being a possible Targaryen, I think the relationship between him and Tywin, I think the toxicity of it is just more emotionally powerful if he's not. And certainly if this even ends up happening in the books, where a part of Tywin believes that to be the case, but in fact isn't, I just think it adds a better tragedy to the whole affair. I think he's more likely to die than he is to sit on the Iron Throne, as much as a lot of fans may not want to hear that. But
yeah, interesting. All right. Well, speaking of, I mean, since Tyrion and Sansa, we just kind of sort of mentioned in the same breath, we have another submission from Ron H at Ron How A. And this says Sansa will rule. She's been in queen/leadership training since the beginning. I love this idea. Although I don't know that I want to see Sansa on the Iron Throne per se. First of all, my personal theory is that, and I think that it's a theory that's shared by other people than just me. But I think that the Iron Throne itself is actually like going to be destroyed at the end of the series. So I don't know that Sansa is actually going to sit on an Iron Throne. But as far as ruling or being queen, I still think that Sansa is going to end up as queen in the North. That is my hope and my dream and my wish for my favorite character. But yeah, so I'm not exactly sure if this person means Iron Throne or if they mean Queen in the North. But I think Queen in the North is absolutely a possibility as far as that goes. But what do you guys think?
I'm team Sansa Queen in the North, and I think a lot of people think she'll take the Iron Throne, and I don't see that happening. One, I don't think anyone's going to be on the throne in the end. I think we're going to end up with some kind of like ruling council. Maybe there's going to be some kind of shift in the way Westeros is governed, in my opinion. But I do see her, if we still have kings and queens of the different regions, I definitely see her as queen in the North. Her whole story, especially in the books, was about her kind of rejecting her northern heritage and, wanting to go south and, be in the big city and, be in a different culture and kind of not really liking her roots and wanting to kind of push that away. And I feel like over the course of her arc, she has really embraced being a Stark and being from the North. And she's come to really appreciate where she comes from and her home and miss it and want to be back there. So I think it would be very fitting for her to end up ruling Winterfell because, we know Arya doesn't really want it anyway. And Bran, especially in the show, he's like, yeah, I can't be a Lord Stark. I'm the Three-Eyed Raven. I'm not going to be ruling a castle. So it's really up to Sansa to take over. So I would actually prefer her to be queen in the North because, who else is going to rule Winterfell if she doesn't?
I retweet everything Vanessa just said. The only thing that I would add is Sansa from the beginning, at least when she was younger, used to dream so much about the type of man that she would marry and having kids and all this other stuff. And I kind of hope she ends up being a bit of a Queen Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth I, who is just focused on ruling and doesn't even get married, not trying to cede away any type of authority to whoever she's married to, and she just ends up, not necessarily alone, but ruling on her own. And I think that would just be a good rounding out of her arc.
That is like everything that you just said, Christine. I'm just like, oh my God, I love you so much for that, because that's like, I would love to see that for Sansa. And like you said, not ending up alone because she can't, find anyone or no one loves her or anything. It's more like she's, kind of realized that she doesn't really need anyone else. Like Sansa is always very like, when she was younger, she was brought up to believe that she was going to be the wife to a great lord, and she was going to have to kind of play like a supporting role to that. She was always she was much more submissive when she was younger. She didn't really have like a sense of agency or a sense of power for herself. And that's something that she's really, really grown into. And I would love, frankly, if they, and it would be something that she would choose. You know what I mean? Like she would kind of choose to stay single or something. And I would love that for her. And I love the comparison to Elizabeth I. I've seen that comparison around a couple of times, and I love it.
Yeah, so. It's not just about the red hair. But if I could just make one quick plug, actually, we are going to have a panel at the next Con of Thrones that's a continuation of last year's Queendom panel, where we really go into the political styles of the the major female characters in the show, and it's called #I'mWithHer, Westerosi Women in Politics, and Sansa is definitely going to be a main feature of that panel. So I hope folks will come to Nashville and definitely attend that panel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gonna be a great one. Bex, what are your thoughts on this one about Sansa ruling? You know, whether or not, I mean, do you think that means she's going to be on the Iron Throne or more like Queen of the North? Nope. Hey,
Bex
Bex.
is having computer problems apparently.
Oh, or maybe she's muted.
No, she sent us something on Slack saying she's having some issues.
All right. Well, let's go.
I just wanted to, can I say something just real quick about the Sansa being like, choosing to be alone, which I would be completely fine with. The only downside I see there is if Bran's not going to be marrying and having children, Rickon's dead. Arya doesn't really want that. Jon's not technically a Stark, so with the Stark line going to die out? I mean, I kind of always saw Sansa with the Bael the Bard story. I kind of saw her like kind of tying into that somehow, and the Stark line continuing through her. And so I feel like there's a definite possibility she might marry like someone of a lower house and then have the children take the Stark name and rule after her. So that's my only caveat about the ruling alone thing.
Yeah, that's very true. Vanessa, real quick, just in case nobody is familiar, because the Bael the Bard thing is a book thing, but can you just kind of just explain that just a bit?
So yeah, so in the books, when Jon meets Ygritte, she tells him a story about how all of the Starks have wildling or free folk blood, because there was a king beyond the wall called Bael who went south and hid himself as a bard and went to Winterfell and sang songs and ended up asking for like the most beautiful rose in the glass garden at Winterfell as a token of appreciation for him coming to visit. And the rose that he takes is actually the Stark daughter, and they go hide in the crypts for what was it, like a year?
It was a long time.
Yeah, which is crazy. What do they eat down there? I don't know. Anyway, so they go hide in the crypts, and like he returns the Stark daughter with a baby and kind of just takes off, which, kind of a deadbeat dad there. I don't know. Anyway, but so supposedly the Stark line continued through this Stark daughter and her offspring from Bael the Bard. So I just always kind of thought like maybe if the Stark line does continue through the female line, that would be Sansa that did it.
Okay, interesting. Speaking of Sansa, from the live chat real quick, Felix Fernandez says Gendry stays with Sansa. So what do we think about the possibility of Gendry and Sansa getting together?
I always enjoy this one just because it like goes right at the Arya and Gendry shippers, so like punches them right in the gut. It's like, no, not Arya, her sister instead, that he doesn't even care about. Well, because in the show, in the show, they've written out most of Robert's other bastards. It's basically just Gendry. There's no Edric Storm. There's no Mia Stone. There's no Bella. So if somebody's going to get Storm's End during this war, Gendry probably has the best claim at this point. So it would make sense politically if you wanted to join Winterfell and Storm's End again, and it would be like another political marriage for Sansa, which would be unsatisfying. But you could see the logic for why somebody would put it out there, especially after we're all pretty much on the same page that most of the North is dead and probably most of the Riverlands. There's not going to be a ton of people left. So people with bad claims are going to have to step up to take these places if that society still exists.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that Gendry would, it would be a political marriage. So, and I agree with you that, Sansa might not be 100% happy in that, and I kind of want her to have something better than just another political marriage. But I feel like Gendry would, if you would treat her well, I don't think he would, be a dick to her. But
she might change her mind when she sees those arms.
That's
and
very
those
true.
washboard abs.
That's very true. Yeah.
I like Gendry, but if Gendry's going to be with anyone, I prefer Arya. And then also, if he is legitimized and he becomes Lord of Storm's End, then that kind of negates the Sansa marrying like a lower bannerman or something to pass the Stark name on to her children, because then she would be a Baratheon. So Someone had mentioned this, and that I totally ship it now. But like Podrick, like Sansa and Podrick, I'm like, that would be adorable. He's like the sweetest person. He would treat her better than anyone else has ever treated her. Like
Yeah.
I could get behind that pairing for sure if he lives.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I could see that too. But, and yeah, the whole thing, I mean, regardless, well, not regardless, I guess, of who she marries, but, let's say that Gendry would become legitimized and then she would marry him, I mean, yeah, technically the kids would be Baratheons, but like, and I think I've mentioned this before, probably in one of our episodes, but like, Cersei, when she married Robert, she didn't become Cersei Baratheon. Everyone still thinks of her as Cersei Lannister. Her kids are still, I mean, they have the Baratheon name, but they're still also thought of as Lannisters. So, she might not still have the Stark name, but I feel like her kids would still definitely be thought of as Starks. But yeah, I just don't want her to lose the Stark name, I think. So.
And presumably there will be a friendly monarch if these two are actually hooking up. So like they did with Ramsay, you could say like, yeah, you're a Bolton now. You could just take one of Sansa's kids and say, okay, you're a Stark, you're a Baratheon, go start that family again. You could do it. It's royal decree. Yeah, also true. All right, so let's see what else we have here. We got another question from the live chat. From our friends at Planetos Podcast. Hey guys, looks like Brett from Planetos Podcast is in here, and he says, which characters won't make it to episode 4? This is a doozy, because if what we think we know is true of episode 3, it is the big battle. It's the battle at Winterfell. So there's a potential for lots of people to die. So as to which characters won't make it to episode 4, I'm going to say the Hound. I'm going to say, I don't know about Jaime. Part of me thinks that Jaime is going to die in the battle at Winterfell, and part of me thinks that he's not. Part of me thinks he's going to make it until the end. I think definitely the Hound. I think Beric, Tormund, Grey Worm. List all the secondary characters.
Well, yeah, I mean,
definitely not making it to episode 4.
Who is it? Sorry,
Jorah. Jorah's dead.
Yeah, I think Jorah might. I mean, yeah, Matt, you're right. It is secondary characters, but I think that I don't know. I mean, can we really see like Brienne or Jaime dying in episode 3?
I think I'd go with, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and that is not an intended pun, I promise. I'm going to say that Jaime dies at the end of episode 3.
Okay.
As the
out on a limb.
Oh no!
Sorry.
Out on a hand. Oh.
I agree with your. So sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Vanessa.
I was going to say I agree with most of that. I think Jorah for sure, and Tormund, probably Ed if Ed comes down to Winterfell.
Oh,
maybe Beric for sure. I don't, definitely not Brienne. I see Jaime lasting a little longer. I could see him, like, if they're on the run and then they encounter more like on the way down, then maybe that's where he goes. I don't see him making it to the end. And I know there's, it's very popular, and I think this will happen in the books that he kills Cersei, but I really don't know if I see that in the show. Because I feel like he'd have to make it to the very end and then kill her, and then I don't see him living. So, like, what happens after that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't see how, like, logistically that would work. I think maybe Varys dies in the Battle of Winterfell if the castle gets breached and they're, like, inside the castle. But yeah, actually, Grey Worm, I think, might actually make it longer because he's really the only Unsullied that, we know. And I feel like they kind of want to keep him around just so that we can kind of humanize Dany's soldiers, because he's, like I said, he's kind of the face of them. And if you get rid of him, then you put somebody new to like take over. I don't know. I don't see them doing that. So just like logistically, I think he might just last because of that reason.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I've got a option for Jaime though. If he survives, he could always become the next Lord Commander of the Night's Watch if there's a need for a Night's Watch at the end of the show. But I feel like that would be pretty fitting for him.
Yeah, Ned wanted to send him to the Night's Watch when they found him in King's Landing.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen. I've seen that theory floating around a bit as well. I don't know. I mean, we know that the wall has fallen at Eastwatch. We don't know if that's caused like, kind of a chain reaction, and now it's just collapsing like all the way down to the whole way across to the Shadow Tower or what. If that's the case, then I don't know that there's going to be much need for a Night's Watch anymore. Their whole thing is manning the wall and protecting it, against not just the more supernatural threat of the others, but also the wildlings and stuff. Well, the wildlings came through the wall a long time ago. So, it's not, I don't know that I see the Night's Watch really existing anymore. But if it does, I would definitely take Jaime as Lord Commander. It's a very honorable kind of position. So yeah, I could see it.
I've got a hot take of a major character that will die before that. I think Bran's gonna bite it during the Battle of Winterfell. He's been skating so long on escaping the White Walkers. The Night's King clearly has like the most amount of hate for killing him that he does for basically anyone else in the series. He personally killed Bloodraven, like didn't even let his other guys do it, didn't let the Whites do it. He had to be the one to swing the sword against Bran. And I'm wondering if maybe they watched Avengers and like Doctor Strange with we're in the end game now. Maybe they'll have Bran say something, not exactly that, but they're the same sort of similar kind of character, the brains behind the conflict, the ones designing strategy. And because Bran doesn't seem to care about his life much anymore. He's just sort of like, oh, I'm the three-eyed crow, I'm a part of the trees. Well, maybe losing his body wouldn't be that big of a problem for him anymore.
At first I was like, and then, the more that I think about it, I think that's definitely a possibility. There's still, I don't know how likely this is, but, on maybe the theory that Bran is going to warg or try and warg into Viserion. I mean, if that really doesn't go well, then that's, absolutely a way that he could meet his end during that battle. And also he's, in a wheelchair. He can't really move. So if the battle does make it inside the walls of Winterfell, unless
it's going to be hard to get him out, unfortunately. I mean, they're going to try. It's his brother. But I mean, if he tells them to go and leave him there, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that he would. And yeah, I don't know. Guys, what thoughts do we have on Matt's incredibly nuclear hot take that Bran will not make it past episode 3? Bex, what do you think? Or is Bex still having issues?
Still having issues.
Dang. All right.
So maybe. I don't know. I kind of don't like, I really like the theory that he's going to try and work with Viserion. And I'm also of the opinion that they're going to lose Battle of Winterfell. They're going to have to flee south. There's going to be like this final confrontation with like Jon or Dany or both of them like in the air trying to fight the Night King on Viserion. And I would think Bran would come in really handy at that point if he was able to warg. And I also think he's going to live in the books because there's a theory that he'll be like the final epilogue and it'll be like a time jump talking about, what's been happening. And I kind of like that idea. So I don't know that I see him dying necessarily, but yeah, I agree. It's going to be kind of tough if they have to flee like really quickly, like get a cart, throw his wheelchair in there. Let's put him on a horse or something. I don't know.
Hodor. Oh no. Oh crap. No Hodor.
No Hodor. So, yeah.
Too soon, Matt. Too soon.
Well, actually, someone brought this up. The Night's King probably has Hodor's body.
Yeah, he probably.
I don't want to think about that.
Nope.
No, not a thing.
I am currently deeply in denial about that.
I want that to be a thing so badly.
Yeah.
My whole goal for this season is for the showrunners to make me incredibly depressed and miserable and just like a sobbing mess on the floor. And if that doesn't happen, the season will not be a success for me. I just want to be a broken being by the end of this. And
I'm right there with you.
Hodor becoming a White will definitely do that to me. Guys, I made the mistake of watching Hold the Door in public. I was out of the country, and like my internet at my hotel was not great, and I ended up seeing it in a pie shop in Galway, sobbing my eyes out in public. It was bad, but like that's what I want for this season, except like times 10. So
I mean, I think the winners are I think they're more than happy to oblige us. I think that is definitely happening.
Oh my God, White Hodor killing Bran.
Oof. What if that's who's chasing Arya in the trailer?
Oh my God, if that's
like
Hodor running through the walls.
With his wheelchair.
Oh my God. Oh, there are so many chances for us to just have our hearts broken. It's not even fair.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with this idea now.
Yeah. Well, first I was thinking it would be Rickon, because we know that he was buried in the crypts without, or yeah. We know that he was buried in the crypts. They didn't have his body burnt, which, come on, John. Like, I was just watching Battle of the Bastards again last night, and like, oh, John, you're such a dumb. I love you, but you are such a dumb. Anyway, so we know that his body was not burnt. So it's also possible that it could be Rickon. But now I'm thinking, like, God, if it's going to be Hodor chasing Arya, like that's just going to be sad.
I'm going to throw a little bit of fuel on the fire. I posted that last night on Twitter, and Sam Coleman liked it.
Oh God, that's not good. That's not good at all. Or maybe he just likes your tweets.
He does like my tweets, but that one I was like, Sam.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying. So, all right, so let's keep moving on here. We got a couple more questions that I've been seeing in the live chat. We got a couple more that were already submitted. We're going to go back to one that was already submitted. This comes from, this is another fantastic Twitter handle, Deploy the Cats at @part_feral. And they actually gave two kind of comments as to what they think is going to happen in season 8. First of all, Gendry the Smith forges up an obsidian attachment for Jaime's golden hand. How freaking cool would that be if Jaime has a hand made out of dragon glass instead of gold at some point during the season?
That's funny, because I remember seeing a theory that like he would get like just an obsidian hand, and he would just like be like smacking people, like all the whites and White Walkers, and just not like taking them out with his hand.
It's so satisfying to watch Jaime slap people with that thing, though. Like when he slaps whichever Frey it is upside the head. It is so satisfying. So yeah, I mean, to watch him do that to White Walkers would be
great.
Yeah, I'd be on board. I don't know. I doubt that Gendry's going to have time to do it before the Battle of Winterfell, and then presumably, he's going to have to leave behind all of his any and all dragon glass that has not been used by the time the fight comes to Winterfell. Is, I mean, they're probably not going to have a chance to take it with him if they have to flee. But I don't know, guys. What do we think? Is this a possibility? Akash, what do you think?
Let's see. I think my mind is still a little bit stuck at the image of White Rickon chasing Arya, being like, I still don't have any lines. It's been forever. They just keep on calling me back. And it's an empty printed sheet for the script. They're like, no, you just run. No zigzag. You just run again. That's it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see Jaime with a neat little hand upgrade before he dies. I think that'd be really neat. And I feel like we could probably use like little moments of humor in what is going to be probably like an intensely, literally and figuratively dark battle scene. So Jaime slapping people with an obsidian hand. Yeah, I'll take it. I would also just like buy that respective merchandise from HBO. So it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening, HBO, even more opportunities for merchandising. You're coming your way, courtesy of the Night's Cast. You're welcome.
I've got an image for this. So Jaime replaces his one hand with obsidian, right? He's got Widow's Wail on the other one, and he's just spinning around the top of the ramparts, just slapping people, hitting people with the sword. He's like a whirlwind of white death. I don't think that's going to happen, but wouldn't that be awesome? I want somebody to make that GIF now.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Somebody out there get on it. Somebody draw it. Let's ask San Rixian to draw it too. I think that would be That'd be pretty fantastic. Yeah, no, the obsidian attachment for Jamie's hand would be awesome. I just don't think that it's like, a detail that they're gonna throw in there for us, but we can dream. So,
although I did see people were doing close analysis of the trailers, and they did find that essentially every surface in Winterfell is going to be covered with some kind of obsidian. Like even the most ridiculous things the whites are never going to touch, it's like just covered in obsidian head to toe.
Yeah, and I saw that, and this is not something that I noticed on first or probably second watch of the trailer, but when I watched Gray Area's breakdown of it, she noted that the Unsullied have it on their shields, they have it like on their shoulders, on their armor. Like, I mean, you're right, it is everywhere.
It's on the walls.
It's like World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Yeah, it is everywhere. So, all right. And also from Deploy the Cats, Nymeria the Direwolf and her feral wolf pack fight beside Miss Feral herself, Arya, in the war to come. I love this idea. I don't know. I mean, if I think that we're going to see the wolf pack again. We have heard, in interviews and stuff that we are definitely going to be seeing Ghost in season 8. I would hope that we're also going to be seeing Nymeria and her Riverlands wolf pack. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but if we do see them, I think that they're going to be mostly outside in the Battle of Winterfell. And I don't, as much of a good fighter as Arya is, I think that she's not going to be out on the front lines with, excuse me, with Brienne and Jorah and all them. I think she's going to be inside. So, I mean, they might be fighting at the same time. I don't know that they're going to be fighting alongside per se, although God, I would love to see that. But I don't know. Panel? What are your thoughts? Christine, what do you think?
I agree. This is totally on my wish list of things to happen in season 8. One of the reasons is because the show is so beyond the books, there's really very few ways to kind of give a wink and a nod to the people who have read the books. And this is definitely a way to do that because they never really show Nymeria leading her pack, killing Freys in the Riverlands, right? Which is what happens in the books. So I would love for her to bring her pack up to this fight and it kind of be a nice way of acknowledging the fans who are also book readers. But yeah, I stand for this all day, every day. Bring Nymeria and her pack back, please.
Definitely. Vanessa, what do you think? Do you think we'll see Nymeria and her wolf pack?
If we do see them, I would be of the opinion that, like I said, if they flee Winterfell and they're kind of on the road and being chased, like I could see them coming into play there. I think that would be a good use for them. I just think there's going to be so much going on in Winterfell. They've, got all those soldiers that are going to be, we've already seen them kind of like outside the walls, like getting ready. All the horses and all, I just feel like that they would kind of get lost in all of the busyness of that battle, and being able to use them in kind of a smaller setting, I think would be more impactful.
That's true, and that's something I didn't think about necessarily, because again, this is what we assume is going to happen is that any and all survivors from the Battle of Winterfell are likely not going to end up staying there, and they're going to have to make their way south, and that means that they'll probably, they'll be passing through the Riverlands. That's where Nymeria and her wolf pack are. So yeah, it definitely could be that they run into them there. And you're right that it might be nicer to kind of, if they're going to use them at all, or if we're going to see them on a less confusing scale. It's not going to be in the midst of all this other shit going on. So yeah, okay, I dig that idea. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I dig it. Matt, what do you think?
I tend to think I agree that they would be lost as kind of a big CGI thing to use in the Battle of Winterfell, which is already going to be enormous. But I tend to think that Cersei is going to try and backstab the Northerners at some point, and the Golden Company are clearly like George has called the wolf pack like his Chekhov's wolf pack. Well, the Golden Company is the Chekhov's army in the South. They're probably going to meet, and I kind of hope that. I mean, let's hope Arya doesn't die. But if she does die and then goes into a second life into Nymeria, like we know that Robb and Jon did, at least in the books, then perhaps she will just take the wolf pack and make a beeline right at the Golden Company and the Lannister forces that are coming up from the south to betray Danny and John, which she's basically said is what she's going to do.
Huh. I like that idea a lot. Very interesting. Well, okay. So we think that we are going to see the direwolves. We just are not entirely sure yet of the situation in which we're going to see them. So, okay. All right, let's see here. We had another question from the live chat. This comes from Jason Beal. How long do you think the discord in the North over John bending the knee will last? This is interesting. I think this is one of those things that is not, it can't possibly last too long. I mean, there's so many other pressing things happening, like, oh, I don't know, an army of dead people marching on Winterfell. We know that this big battle is going to happen. At least my hope is that it's going to be something that would be resolved like relatively quickly. And my hope is that it's John who kind of is the one to resolve it. He kind of, he takes responsibility for his decision and he says, hey, listen, I am not the one that should be ruling. It should be Sansa. Like, let's just get this out of the way right now. She should be the one, kind of setting the path forward for Sansa being Lady of Winterfell or Queen in the North. So that's my hope, is that it gets resolved relatively quickly, but it also could be one of those things that kind of simmers for the first 2 episodes until, maybe even up until episode 3 when just right before the fighting starts. So.
Yeah, I feel like by episode 3, it's going to have to be put to bed by then, because there's going to be way more pressing matters to worry about, and they're not going to have time for that. It's, it's like the lone wolf dies, the pack survives. Are going to have to all be a pack together if they're going to make it. So they're going to have to work out their differences. And honestly, like, I get the reasoning behind why there's going to be friction with all these different factions, whatever. But honestly, if I'm Danny and I am putting my dragons on the line, all of my soldiers on the line, come help save your rear ends, like, are you really going to give me crap that I'm bringing all these people to come save you and you're going to treat me like, I don't know. I would be a little frustrated. So, like I said, I hope it's short-lived, but just knowing how they like to play up the drama, especially with all the interviews, it seems like they're really focusing on all this political drama in the early season. I think they're going to probably stretch it out, which makes me a little annoyed, but oh well.
Yeah, like I said, it's my hope is that it gets resolved relatively quickly, but I think realistically it probably definitely will last. I hate to say this, but I think that they are, like you said, Vanessa, going to try and draw it out as long as they can, for the sake of drama. But yeah, I don't know. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Well, it will last exactly 3 episodes, at which point Winterfell's gone and then there's no more conflict. But in sort of talking about who's exactly going to be most upset about this, I think Lord Glover is number 1 right there. He's the one that turned down John and Sansa in the beginning. He made that big showing of putting down his sword and being like, I'll be your man forever. Glover's always fought on the side of House Stark. But then he was talking to Lord Baelish, and it seemed like he's really unhappy with the way things were going beforehand. He's going to be really unhappy now, too. Also, maybe Jan Royce, where he was happy to get rid of Littlefinger, but he's very unhappy that the wildlings have been integrated into their forces and into their culture. He thinks they should be elsewhere. So, especially if Danny's showing up with as what's his name? Lord Tarley, how he called her a foreigner in her foreign army, that's probably going to come up again. That's probably how they're going to view Danny and the Unsullied and the Dragons. It's like, we're the Northerners. We're stodgy old white men. We can take care of this. And Danny's going to be like, I got an army and dragons. Calm down, you guys.
Yeah, that is very true. Again, my hopes that it's going to be resolved quickly are probably not going to be realized. Christine, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I don't really have anything additional to say for the most part. I mean,
so, yeah, it seems like it is pretty not cut and dried, but that they are probably going to try and drag out the drama, at least for 3 episodes.
So here's the thing. I mean, One thing I struggle with is whether or not Jon is going to even want this information to become public, because he is that reluctant leader.
By information becoming public, what do you mean?
I mean, like his. Well, sorry. So it's Dany we're talking about, not Jon. Sorry, I'm thinking about the wrong Targaryen.
No worries.
But yeah, his bending the knee. The Northerners, for some reason, even though they're focused on preparing for winter all the time, they seem very short-sighted when it comes to the political stuff. So all of the players that I could think of being cranky about this are the ones that have been mentioned, particularly Royce, because he went up there and was like, "Never trust a Targaryen." You know, that was the last words we ever hear him say on the show before season 7 ended. So they're going to be a cranky mess, and hopefully Sansa will figure out some way of helping to calm them down. But they need to be focused on the here and now, right? Like you said, she's got a pretty good air force. Like, let her use them and help you, and you can figure this stuff out later.
Yeah. One thing too that I keep thinking of is that I wonder if there's any possibility that, yes, okay, we know that Lord Royce specifically was like, fuck Targaryens, can't trust Targaryens, but I'm wondering if, the revelation of Jon's parentage and if what, Bran and Sam have discovered, like, hey, this was not the situation that we've thought it was for many, many years. Here's what actually happened. And Lyanna Stark, loved and trusted a Targaryen. I don't know. I think it might be kind of hard to convince people, convince the North of otherwise. They've believed this story for so long, but I don't know. I mean, I just wonder what the possibility is that they might be able to talk everyone into a different frame of mind. So
that actually does play a little bit into my mistaken comment when I started talking about Jon and the fact that he might not want his information, his lineage, to come out because he doesn't want to either mess up his relationship with Dany, or he doesn't want to be put forward as the most legitimate person to sit on the throne. But if people are so antagonistic towards his aunt, then maybe he'll be like, yeah, you've had a Targaryen amongst your midst the entire time. Do you really think I'm that much of a problem that you can't trust me? You can't trust it, and if you feel like you can trust me, then why not trust her?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I don't know. But this is still the reveal of Jon's parentage is one of the things that I'm most looking forward to, not only to see how Jon's going to handle it, but to see the implications that it's going to have for everyone around, because it's going to be huge. And I'm super excited.
Although at a certain point, like Dany, they can be as mad as they want, but she can just do the Targaryen thing and point at her dragons, which is how they ruled for like 160 years. That was basically Jaehaerys the First strategy, where it was like, oh, these people don't like what I'm doing. They don't like that I'm marrying my sister. Points to dragon.
Yeah, I feel like I was just going to say, I feel like people will use that to try and drive them apart and try to manipulate the situation to tell Jon, like, hey, you need to take over and, get rid of her or whatever, which is stupid. But I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I think that's also a possibility, a strong possibility. Yeah, it's going to be something. So. All right. Let's see here. I think, let's go for another one that we had already submitted. This is from Little Kim, at Little, and that's LIDL Kim. And I'm so glad that this came up, because I actually went out and researched a possible answer to this and then came up with one or two possible answers of my own. So, I'm prepared. This person says, I'm prepared for mass death and untold pain, but it will kill me if we don't hear the end of Tyrion's brothel, jackass, and honeycomb joke. And if nobody remembers, this was, I believe, in season 5 or 6. Tyrion and Missandei and Grey Worm are sitting around doing the.
He says it twice. He says it in season
he does?
6, I think. Yeah. Yeah, he does it twice. He starts it twice and like never finishes. But I know one time was with Missandei and Grey Worm, and I think he had said it in an earlier season. I can't remember.
King's Landing. Yeah, he started the joke in King's Landing and then got a little bit further in Marine.
I totally forgot about that. All right. So, but we still don't know the punchline. But the joke is, so I once walked into a brothel with a honeycomb and a jackass. And that is as far as we get in the joke. We never learn what the punchline is. So on Huffington Post, there was this, I guess was a few years ago, one of their writers actually asked comedians to come up with possible punchlines. There's some really funny ones. I won't go through all of them, but there was a really funny one from Daniel Kibblesmith and Jennifer Wright, who are both comedians. I believe they're married. And so I once walked into a brothel with a honeycomb and a jackass, and the madam said, "You can't bring that in here." And I said, "Please, it's a gift." And the madam said, "I meant the jackass." And I said, "So did I. It's his birthday." So I think that would be a pretty satisfactory ending. I don't know.
I actually heard the best one, and I think it was on Reddit. And this one's like perfect to me. So, walking to the brothel with a honeycomb and a jackass. "Madam, what can we do for you?" "Tyrion, I need a woman to lay with, for mine has left me." "Madam, whatever for, and what's with the honeycomb and the mule?" "Tyrion, my woman found a genie in a bottle, and he granted her 3 wishes. The first was for a house fit for a queen, so he gave her this honeycomb. The second wish was that she had the nicest ass in all the land, so he gave her this damn donkey." "Madam, and what about the third wish?" "Tyrion, well, she asked the genie to make my cock hang down past my knee." "Madam, well, that one's not so bad." "Tyrion, not so bad. I used to be 6'3".
I saw that one too. I like that one.
That's a very Tyrion joke to me. So
yeah,
I like that one.
Anybody else have punchline suggestions for that one?
Mine's real short.
Go for it.
So he walks in with a honeycomb and a jackass, and the madam says, "Get out of here with that sweet ass."
I love it. That's a good one too. I came up with 2 of my own possibilities, kind of similar. And so I walked into a brothel with a honeycomb and a jackass, and the madam says, "In case you don't know how a brothel works, we provide the sweet ass." And another possibility is the madam says, "You can't bring that in here." And I turned to the jackass and said, "I told you we don't have to bring our own sweet ass to a brothel." So you're welcome. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. So yeah, possibly we'll get the ending of that joke. But if not, there you go. Some own possibilities for your listening pleasure from us. All right. I think we have another question that was from the live chat. Matt, is this one that you found?
Yep.
Okay. So this is from Tuki Mello. And what does that say?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
And Daddy TV? I'm not sure.
Daddy TV Q? Okay. Do you think ice will be forged back together by Gendry to kill the Night King? I don't know. Matt, you look like you want to weigh in on this one. Take it. Go for it.
I did a after the initial trailer, I had noted that this would be the first time since season 1 that ice has been back in Winterfell with Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail finally back. Jaime has Widow's Wail, Brienne has Oathkeeper. They're back together, and Gendry is the apprentice with Tobo Mott, the guy that, at least in the books, melted down ice and made the 2 Valyrian steel swords. So it's at least on the table that maybe you could reforge ice, because the thing with Valyrian steel is you can't make more of the metal, but you can make it into a new shape if you want to. That's apparently allowed. I don't understand metallurgy and how that works, but it could be a thing. And a lot of people are wondering if the sword Lightbringer will be a thing, like an actual flaming Valyrian steel sword that someone swings around to kill like kind of like Barrack, but like Valyrian steel instead. So it's at least on the table that the pieces are there that this could happen. I don't know if it will though.
My question would be why though would you
It'll be awesome.
Well, okay, yeah, but I mean, I don't know that that would really be the reason why we would do it. I'm wondering why you have two swords made out of it right now. Why go to the trouble of forging it back together just for one, unless it is supposed to be Lightbringer? But then I still. I like the idea, but I just don't see the point.
I think if it happened, it would be after everything was over with, and it, just for like sentimental value or whatever. But yeah, if you've got two weapons, why would you cut that in half by reforging it and making this big unwieldy sword that not many people can fight effectively with? That makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Again, it will be awesome though.
Not arguing the awesome part. Definitely not. So, yeah, no, I just don't see why. I guess you would do that, but who knows? Like Vanessa, like you said, maybe afterwards, like after, as once all the fighting is done and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe. All right. Let's see here. Christine or Akash, do you guys have thoughts on that as to if and why they might forge ice back together? No?
Nothing new.
Okay.
Not particularly. No.
Okay. I have to admit that that's not really something that I had thought very much about, the forging it back together kind of thing. So, yeah. All right. So let's see. Looking at the live chat here, we have a question from Boyd Farish. What's an unexpected location the show will visit this season? So that's kind of interesting. Personally, I would really like to see the God's Eye, because we have not seen that in the show. Correct? We haven't. And it's a place that's so important in the lore and the history of Westeros that I think it would be really neat to see the God's Eye and for something really important to happen there. But I don't know. I mean, at this point, there's not really many locations outside of Westeros that we're going to have time or reason to visit, really. We don't need to go to Essos to see the Golden Company, leaving there and coming to Westeros. So yeah, the God's Eye would be really neat, but I don't know. I don't know any other places that I can think of. Guys, thoughts?
The God's Eye would be cool, but I mean, it doesn't have a lot of significance in the show, I don't think. So I'm not really sure what the purpose would be. I'm of the mindset that we'll see Winterfell. Obviously, we may see like Castle Black briefly. We may see like Last Hearth or
Carhold
briefly as they fall to the Army of the Dead. But I'm thinking, if Winterfell falls, we'll see King's Landing, obviously. But if Winterfell falls, they may flee south and they may go to Dragonstone to regroup before trying to head to King's Landing, depending on if they take ship or if they go by land. But that's really the only other place I could see coming into play. I think it's really going to be the main places are going to be Winterfell and King's Landing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at the chat, I see Mama Sand. Hi, Mama. She said, I want to see the Reed's floating fortress, Greywater Watch. That could be impactful. That would be really cool to see. But I don't know how they'd find time for it. Although I don't know, maybe as they're, fleeing from Winterfell, they're in dire straits and they need some place to go, and all of a sudden Greywater Watch shows up. I don't know. Christine, you looked excited about Greywater Watch.
I am here for any Howland Reed theory, any theory that involves Howland Reed showing up, being featured, anything. I'm here for it. Sign me up. I don't care how they fit it in. Just do it. Just do it. I need Howland Reed. I need him. I need him badly.
Yeah, it would be neat to see him, but I just don't, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't care. I don't care. Just give me my damn Howland Reed.
I hope, Christine, I hope to God for your sake that we see Howland Reed and or Greywater Watch at
Pray
some
for
point.
me, y'all. Pray for me.
this
Not
season.
and or no, Howland Reed. It didn't have to be at Greywater Watch. Just Howland Reed needs to show up. But in his home would be great too. It'd be cool to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be great. I don't know if we're going to see if we've seen the last of Mira. I don't know off the top of my head if she is in the cast for season 8. So, yeah. I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts on other Akash? Any other thoughts on locations that we might see for the first time?
For the first time, my instant thought, which is definitely not going to happen, just made peace with it. I've always wanted to see what the red door and the lemon tree Danny Vision house would look like. But they've never mentioned it, and it wasn't even brought up in their retooling of the House of the Undying, so I can't really say that I expect that to pop up at any point. But let's see, not for the first time, but I think involving the old ruins of Valyria in like the finale somehow would be neat. So it's a like going back full circle. I'm not sure exactly what would happen there, mind you, but
yeah, that would be neat. Matt, thoughts?
Ooh, I got a few. So my favorite one is during the initial trailers, there were those scenes of Rhaegal and Drogon flying through what kind of looked like maybe the area beyond the wall, maybe somewhere in the north. I was talking with Gray Area during a video I put out on my channel, and she brought up the possibility that maybe they're going to go back to the Fist of the First Men, or maybe to the Heart of Winter, or that tree where the Night King was created. You know, the Heart of Winter is sort of that place where that baby was on that weird ice pedestal and then turned it. Because if the humans are going to win in some way during this season, they're going to have to find ways that are not direct combat. They're going to have to go around and find weird little targets and like kind of like psyops sort of things in order to take them out, because you're just not going to win against an army of whites. So there's a good chance that using the dragons, they just sort of fly around the army and go up to the far north and find stuff like that. Somewhere else that might be cool during this season. An unexpected place. We may see Old Town again. Like Euron may sack it just for funsies after he has the Golden Company and the rest of the Greyjoy fleet is gone. Danny's fleet is gone. He's basically just has like free reign to kill everything he wants.
Yeah, I could see Old Town being seen again for sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've got a wish list of things that I would like to see for the first time at any point in the series, but there's 6 episodes left and there's so much that is going to have to be fit in that I really, you know, I just don't think that we're going to get anything new per se. So yeah, you know, seeing Old Town again is definitely a possibility. Seeing the God's Eye would be great. And it is in the Riverlands, which we've seen obviously a lot of before. So, you know, it's a new part of a place that we've already seen. So maybe that could be, you know, fit in somehow. But yeah, and I'm still, Christine, I'm like praying for you that we see Howland Reed and Greywater Watch too, but definitely Howland Reed. So
wait, haven't we seen Howland Reed already? The High Sparrow?
I mean, like modern, like today, Howland Reed, not in flashbacks.
I need to buy the Tower of Joy, Howland Reed, not Howland Reed at the Tower of Joy.
Right. So, well, speaking of Tower of Joy, just saw another question in the chat. Oh, just lost it. Hang on. Okay, Shannon Thompson. Will we get a flashback with the Willa role, Tower of Joy? What do you guys think? So another Tower of Joy flashback, that I don't know about. I mean, we've kind of seen all there is to see about that part of the story and what it can tell us, but I don't really know. I don't know what purpose it might serve, unless it could show us what happened with like Dawn after the battle happened. I mean, we do know that Ned returned it to Starfall though, and Ashara Dane. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I see a use for another Tower of Joy flashback, but Guys, what do you think?
I think the only other person who even knew about Wyla was Robert, and Robert's been dead for 6 seasons, so I don't really see Wyla having a need to come back.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we do yeah. I don't know. Matt, what do you think?
I think in the books we're definitely going to see more of that and what happened, because George has done much more with House Dane. The show has just kind of taken a hammer to them. They basically don't exist. They've mentioned Arthur Dane once, and then they mentioned Ashara Dane during the history and lore, but they don't expect all the viewers to watch that. That's basically just like an extra for book fans. Mm-hmm. So I don't think, and actually Ned Dane doesn't exist in the show. So, and Darkstar. So all the characters that this would be relevant for are gone. So I don't think so, but I think George definitely will.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think in the books will absolutely. But like you said, Matt, there are just by the numbers many more Danes in the books, and they have much more of an integral part to the story than we've really seen in the show. So yeah, I don't know as to why. Now, I don't want to I'm not going to address another part of this Q&A because I do not want to venture into any kind of spoiler territories. So Shannon Thompson, sorry, apologies for not getting to another part of your question. But yeah, I just want to make sure, just in case anyone's trying to remain completely and utterly spoiler free, that we don't touch on that. Let's see here. I know I saw another question somewhere in our live chat. Another one from Tookie Mello and Daddy TV. That's like the greatest username ever. Do you think the realm will be a better place if the Night King sits the throne? LOL, no more scheming. Yeah, I mean, I guess there would be no more scheming. I don't think that they, as White Walkers, have the ability to scheme or feel any kind of human emotion, but we could be wrong about that. We don't know yet. I think better place is relative as to, I think the living would envy the dead in that situation, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Akash, what do you think?
I touched on this before in a couple of our previous podcasts, but I'm definitely a big fan of gorgeous costumes. And just on that front alone, the Night King and the White Walkers just lose. I'm sorry. And I'm a big fan of the slightly condescended raised eyebrow that Cersei does in one of her beautiful gowns while she drinks wine. And if that isn't something that I can do as a part of, your group, then count me out. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll say the scheming is worth it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Matt, what do you think?
There's a really good quote for this from Roose Bolton, where he says, "A peaceful land, a quiet people." And that's what it would be. It would be peaceful, as all the whites will sort of stand around doing their musical numbers, and no conflict ever again. It will just be a quiet land a peaceful land and a quiet people. That'll be it forever. Although they do come from people, like the White Walkers are made from us. So I imagine somewhere deep in those icy souls, there's just like drama waiting to come out. They're all talking about how like somebody got disrespected when they were coming down for the wall. This guy didn't get the command of that white army. Like, we just can't hear it because they're basically psychics.
Possibly. Also possible. Maybe they're just waiting for all the living people to, be dead so that then they can speak in whatever kind of weird language they have, if they have one. And they're just going to be like, yeah. Then, yeah, I don't know. Just talk shit on all the living people like, oh my God, really? So, I don't know. Let's see. Another Q&A from the live chat. Christine, this one is for you. Why does Christine want Howland Reed so badly?
The main reason is he's the only living survivor to date from the Tower of Joy. So Bran is all-knowing, and during the Littlefinger scene, it seems as though the Lords of the North take his visions for gospel. but maybe not everyone does. So I feel it's important to have someone who can say X, Y, and Z happened at the Tower of Joy regarding Jon Snow's birth, right? Who are his parents and whatnot. So I think Howland Reed is of critical importance to the story. And I just really, I want to see him. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm very passionate about Howland Reed, and I've just been waiting since I read about that scene in the books. I've just been waiting for him to show up on the show and tell folks what happened, because we weren't always guaranteed that Bran was going to show us flashbacks, or that the Three-Eyed Raven was going to show us flashbacks. I just assumed that Howland Reed was going to tell us that story at some point. But the flashback is great. I was obsessed with seeing it, but I want an eyewitness as well. And it might just be me being an attorney and being like, I need my evidence. And Mr. Boy is not doing it for me. Sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Do you think we'll see him do you think we'll actually get to see him in the books?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I think his neighborhood has way more action happening in the books. I think we'll see that if and when the future books come out. I'm less hopeful in the show, but I'm just waiting for Helen to show up at Winterfell at some point. I mean, he's supposed to be one of the loyalist bannermen of the Starks, and we have yet to see him, which I think he's doing something. Like, there's no way you can be the most loyal bannerman of the Starks and they call their banner several times now and you not show up. You got to be up to something good for the Starks. So I'm just waiting for him to reveal himself and explain where he's been, and to also help solidify Bran and Sam's claims on Jon.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can definitely see it happening. So, all right. Let's look for another.
I got more on that one. I can go with
okay.
this. To add on to why he's going to be awesome. There's this weird fact from the story of the Night of the Laughing Tree that before Howland went to the tourney, he stayed on the Isle of Faces for a whole year on his own, communing with the old gods and the green men. So there's a very real possibility that he sort of has like the cliff notes of what's going to happen or where he needs to be in the future. And so he's just kind of staying in the neck until it becomes relevant for him to show up, because like his role in the Night of the Laughing Tree thing and making sure Rhaegar and Lyanna got together is really odd, where he gets like beat up by a couple of squires, but it happens to be in front of Lyanna Stark, who beats them up for messing with her father's bannermen. And it's kind of this weird like spider web kind of thing, where maybe he's really tuned into this stuff and he's just waiting for the exact moment where he can show up to do the most. And also, just like on a tactical level, when the Starks call their banners, part of that is basically like, all right, the Reeds, make sure nobody comes through, use your blow darts, hold Moat Cailin, you're good. Because they don't really have much of a rest of their force. They got lizard lions and they got bows and arrows. That's kind of it. They're not gonna march on any castles for the most part.
Yeah. Love that theory that Howland kind of knows, what's going to be happening or where he needs to be and when, and he's just going to, he's going to show up there and do what he's supposed to do. So, yeah.
That's kind of what Jojen and Mira did. They showed up at the exact right time to get Bran where he needed to go. So
it's very true. Interesting. All right. Let's see here. Q&A question from the live chat. Broken Wolf 1990. Oh, Akash, I think this is right up your alley and mine. Who do we think has the best outfit ever, and which one was it? I want to hear your thoughts first.
Oh goodness. That's putting me on the spot.
Well, if you need a second to think, I'll go first, because I have thoughts on this, and I'll try not to make it too long, but one of them is Marjorie Tyrell's wedding dress, because the level of detail in it is absolutely just fantastic. Probably any of Cersei's gowns from season 7, because they're all fierce, and Sansa's wedding dress is also pretty fantastic too. Anybody else have thoughts?
I have one specific outfit.
Okay.
That falls under one of the categories that you mentioned, and that's a Cersei season 7. her outfit that she wore to the Dragon Pit was like Helmut Lang meets Game of Thrones, and I died. It was gorgeous. I mean, and the volume and the angles and just everything was perfect. I want to wear that outfit so badly, but I'm like 5'2". I would look ridiculous in it. But Lena Headey carried that off flawlessly.
Yeah, I love that one. That's fantastic.
I've always been partial to her armor gown from Blackwater. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, with the metal bust kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. Okay. Akash?
Yeah, let's see. I can't narrow it down to one.
Neither can
either.
I. Don't worry about
it. I absolutely love the I don't know if it's necessarily like a gown, but it's sort of like a cross between a gown and a practical travel dress for a queen. But Daenerys' arrival outfit to Dragonstone at the beginning of season 7. I love how it's like this perfect combination of really what Dany always has, which is, honestly, with my luck, someone's going to start dying within the next 5 minutes. So I need to be prepared for that. But then also I need to look really good just in case I do die, which has been one of my 3 guiding philosophies in my personal life. Like, I'll just show up in a suit. They're like, why are you in a suit? There's nothing happening today. I'm like, well, just in case I die. And be like, well, sucks for him, but he looked great.
That reminds me, real quick, that reminds me of that episode of 30 Rock where I forget why the reason is, but Alec Baldwin's character is getting into a tuxedo. Yeah. And Liz Lemon is like, are you getting into a tux? And he's like, it's after 6, Lemon. What am I, a farmer?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's a good quote. And the second one, I'll also echo Marjorie's wedding dress. I just love the level of detail, how it starts off with the roses and then it slowly climbs into the thorns and it culminates in that crown. It's just the level of ascendancy and detail that one assumes would go into a royal wedding that's combining 2 houses of trying to put both of them together. But I also really subtly love, and I have no idea if Michelle Clapton intended this or not, but I love that the rose is so heavy in her costuming, and for me that sort of symbolizes how easily, and she worked for it, but how easily Marjorie was often able to overpower Joffrey. She doesn't care about the Baratheon part, she is the rose, and that's really all about her, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
And then with Cersei, I love the gown that she had when she was crowned in the Winds of Winter. It was just the chain. I have a thing for simple chains that go across the chest, and then the silver lion, the epaulets on both of the shoulders. It's yeah. I mean, that, I guess if you're going to get the throne after committing mass murder, that is the look you go for.
Yeah, I mean, you want to look good when you're, murdering thousands and then, accepting the crown that you earned because of it. So sure, yeah. Okay, thank you for that question from the live chat. Broken Wolf 1990, loved it. All right, so we're going to take one more question from the live chat. Then we're each going to make a couple of quick predictions for what we think we're going to see tonight, make our picks for possible deaths in this episode, and then we're going to wrap it up. So another one from Tookie Mello and Daddy TV. Do you think the Night King will shatter Longclaw? Because if he dies by Longclaw, I will be so disappointed. I don't know if he dies by Longclaw. So I'm assuming Jon Snow is what they're saying. I'm going to say no. I don't think so, because to date we haven't seen. We know specifically that Valyrian steel is one of the only things that can kill the White Walkers. So I don't imagine that they would show us that in very specific instances, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, well, actually, no, it doesn't always work. I don't see them doing that. But I don't know. Thoughts, Matt? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know any mechanism for the Night King shattering Valyrian steel, like you said. Although he's basically going to make sure he's nowhere near anybody with obsidian or Valyrian steel, probably until the very end. That seems to be how he operates. The only time he's made himself vulnerable was, like I said earlier, when he went to kill Bloodraven in particular. But even then, he let his cronies walk in front of him. So if he dies, I think it's unlikely to be someone swinging a sword at him unless there's a very specific situation that like Bran and Jon have crafted.
Yeah. Okay. Vanessa, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, we've seen it kill one White Walker, but I don't know if I can. I feel like there's going to have to be something special happening to get rid of him. Otherwise, it would be too easy. So I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, agreed. Christine, you have thoughts on this?
I kind of need that dragon glass to come out. You
Yeah.
know? Not that necessarily Longclaw would shatter. I feel like that would suck. There's so few Valyrian steel swords in the world that to shatter one would be absolutely awful. But I feel like he has to be harder to kill than the rest. I just feel like that would be good storytelling, good lore. I mean, if he's able to use incredible magic to convert babies into White Walkers who can grow up and raise the dead, it's got to take more than just the Valyrian steel sword to kill him.
Yeah,
I don't know, but something.
Yeah, that's true too. So, yeah, that's how it's going to play out with the Night King actually going down is going to be really interesting because like you guys all have said, it's kind of like it's not that it can't be that easy. I mean, like I said, we know that Dragon Glass and Valyrian Steel both kill White Walkers, but it can't just be so easy that he's going to die in a sword fight with Jon Snow, or anyone wielding Valyrian Steel or Obsidian. I mean, Matt, like you said, he's going to make sure that he's as far as possible away from any of that. So, yeah, I don't know. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up here. Want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch and who submitted questions into the live chat and also ahead of time. We're going to be, like I said, doing this every Sunday from 5 p.m. to about 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll go over a couple more details about that at the end of the live stream. Real quick, we're going to make some predictions for what's going to happen tonight. Either predictions or, let's just say one thing that we're, really excited about happening in the premiere episode. Vanessa, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Well, I mean, I don't know about predictions. I think it's going to be interesting to see the retinue arriving at Winterfell and how everyone will react to that happening. I'm really excited to see the reunions. Arya and Jon, obviously, maybe Arya and Gendry and Sansa and Tyrion should be pretty interesting too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm interested to see how the chilly reception to Daenerys will impact her and Jon's relationship. And something that I would love to see that I don't know if it's going to happen in this episode, but Jon's going to ride a dragon. It's going to happen, whether it's this one or not. But if it is this one, I will be jumping off the couch and screaming probably. So
that would be a heck of a way to start off the season for sure. So yeah. Christine, what's so either a prediction or something that you're just really kind of hoping to see, something that you're excited to see for tonight?
So, I mean, we all know that I'm hoping to see Helen Reed in any way, shape, or form. But I literally have a box of tissues reserved for the Jon and Arya reunion. I've had that reserved for quite some time now. So I'm most excited about that. The second thing I'm excited about to see, though, is the Golden Company and their introduction. And I hope we get the groundwork of how Euron is going to dig over Cersei. Like, there's no way you can trust Euron freaking Greyjoy to go all the way to Essos and ferry over the Golden Company and everything be hunky-dory when they arrive. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. And I guess finally, I kind of hope Melisandre comes back this episode, although I wouldn't be surprised if they save her for coming in at the last minute, maybe during episode 3. But I would love to see her come back with an army of red priests who, I don't know, bring some type of fire to this fight. I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to seeing Melisandre too. Again, I don't know if they'll get into this because it's a book thing and it's even a relatively obscure book thing, but the Fiery Hand would be fantastic to see. The Fiery Hand is kind of like this retinue of highly trained like warrior priests in the faith of R'hllor. I think they like guard the temple, the temple in Volantis. So it would be really cool to see that. Yeah, I don't know if that is going to happen in this episode necessarily. Yeah, I could see them kind of like, if they show up, they're going to maybe save the day to the extent that they can in episode 3 in the big battle. So yeah, Matt, what are you thinking about tonight's episode?
So there's a few things. One of them is actually related to the Golden Company. Some people have speculated that maybe Harry Strickland has Blackfire, since that the last place it was seen was with the Golden Company with Maelys the Monstrous. So there's a real Gray Area, actually, she pointed this out in her trailer breakdown, where it looks like he's wearing a big fancy sword. So it may be Blackfire coming into the story at last. I don't know how it'll be used. Again, like with Ice coming back, it would just be awesome. I would enjoy seeing that. Another thing is Arya and obviously Jon are going to have a big reunion, but so are Bran and Jon. They haven't seen each other since Bran returned from Beyond the Wall, although he wrote that letter. So Jon knows he's alive, but they haven't talked. And Bran has said to Sam in particular, like, I really need to talk to Jon. And then they cut to them having sex. So there's going to be some stuff going on there. And I really want to see John Bradley's acting when Daenerys and Jon walk in. And he just goes, and he's like, has no poker face. And he's like, oh, you guys are a couple. Oh shit. You guys are a couple. But like, oh no, I think that moment's going to be really cool. And what Bran has to tell Jon, I think he's going to tell him way more than just, by the way, you're Aegon Targaryen. There's a lot, like much in the way Bloodraven had to tell him a huge amount. It will be the same thing probably for Bran to Jon and Dany. And one other thing. I don't know if Jaime's showing up in this episode. If he is, how he's going to interact with so many of those characters. Him and Bran after he shoved him out a window. Jaime and Daenerys. All these characters have histories with Jaime, and he basically just hasn't seen them for a long time. I think that's one of those underrated things that's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. A quick question about Blackfire. So do you think it's going to be just kind of mentioned in passing as a wink and a nod to book fans? Or do you think that it's going to maybe have like some kind of meaning, like it's going to have some kind of impact?
If it has any impact, it will probably be late in the story, because Blackfire, after the death of the dragons, essentially the whole Blackfire rebellion was that Daemon got the sword, but Daeron got the throne. And that was basically the thing, like, well, the sword means who's the true king. So it's a really important symbol for Targaryens to lacking dragons in order to establish that they are the rightful heir and king. So in that way, it's kind of like what's happening with fake Aegon or Phaegon, where Varys is making him look as much like a Targaryen as he can. It's just really important on like a PR level for the rightful ruler of Westeros, who is a Targaryen, to have Blackfire, even though it doesn't really mean much.
Yeah.
Like on a practical level, Drogon's better than Blackfire, but maybe Drogon dies.
Yeah, well, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole yet until we get into further episodes. Akash, what do you think we might see tonight, or what are you excited for?
I'm going to echo the excitement for the Golden Company. I think echoing our earlier conversation also about costuming, they just look great. And I'm interested to see how this sort of triumvirate between Cersei, Euron, and the Golden Company sort of interact with each other. Because each three of them, I'm going to assume this for the third one as well, but Cersei and Euron are definitely not anywhere close to being trustworthy people, to say the least. I don't expect that the Golden Company is going to follow suit, because even in the show, the couple of times they've been mentioned, I believe in the show it's been mentioned once or twice that like they've never broken a contract. So I'm assuming they're going to break the contract. To Chekhov's rule of contracts, I guess. And then 2 would be Jon and Arya's reunion. Because if they start playing that Goodbye Brother music piece from season 1, I'm going to lose it. The wine is just going to go flying. It's going to be a mess. I'll have to refill that if that happens. And then last but not least, I hope we get a solid look at the last hearth, because I don't think they would introduce the 2 Karstark kids if they weren't intending on killing them off. So I think that's how we start.
Yeah, and my understanding is that we are going to see them again. I mean, this isn't really a spoiler of any kind, I don't think, but we know that the actors that play Alice Karstark and Ned Umber are also in season 8. So yeah, I mean, I think that you know, seeing Last Hearth and or Carhold would be really neat. I mean, as for me personally, I was thinking that I was excited to see Jaime arrive at Winterfell. Matt, you make a good point that may not happen this episode. I think that if it does, it's going to happen at the end of the episode. Kind of like, not like, not a cliffhanger or anything, but like that might be the way that they end the episode. And that's how episode 2 is going to begin. Because yeah, I think that the bulk of tonight's episode is going to be Dany arriving at Winterfell, her interactions with Sansa and with all of the other Northern Lords, how they're going to frame that. Yeah, I think I am so excited to see Dany's arrival at Winterfell. Just because, spectacle wise, it's going to be really fantastic. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that.
It would actually be pretty funny if all the drama stuff is done by the end of the first episode. It's like, all right, we worked all this out. It's fine. Then Jaime Lannister walks through the gate. It's like, all right, well, everything's just going up in flames again. Great. Thanks, Jaime Lannister. You did it again. And I forgot to say, one other thing I'm excited about. I've been holding on to this bottle of Omegang's 7 Kingdoms for like a couple of years now. Tonight it's getting opened.
Nice. Good job. Enjoy. All right, last question, real quick, one at a time. Who do you think, if anyone, might die tonight?
Tormund or Beric are top of my list. They're running from something in Eastwatch or Castle Black. They're secondary characters. You don't need all of them, basically, especially with a condensed series that's coming up. So I would assume Beric is the most likely to go, because Tormund he at least has a role still as the leader of the wildlings south of the wall.
Yeah, very true. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm gonna posit either Theon or Bronn.
Theon, that's a bold one for episode 1.
And if Petra is listening, I'm super sorry. I really love him, especially that last scene he had with Jon on rewatch. It melted my heart, and I'm a super big Theon fan now. So Petra, please don't hate me. But I think Theon has to die this season, rescuing Yara. I think it will be a beautiful completion of his arc. And whether or not that happens in episode 1, I'm here for it. I don't think it's highly likely. Again, I'm in that category of folks who thinks that there really aren't going to be any deaths this episode. Then again, last season started off with an entire house being decimated. So what do I know? But yeah, so Theon and Bronn are on my list of potential deaths for episode 1.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna jump on the Beric and or Ed train. I think that either one of those seems pretty likely. But yeah, I now that the more that I think about it, I don't really know what kind of action we're going to see in the first episode that might lead to deaths. But we don't know. So, all right. Akash, do you have any thoughts?
I think I'm going to be extremely safe on this one. And I'm going to stick with saying the Karstarks for episode 1. I think they're going to be a little cruel, and they're going to kill Tormund off after he reunites with Brienne. And they're going to do that to us, as horrible as that is.
That's okay, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a Tormund Brienne shipper, so, maybe if Tormund, like, dies, I don't know, saving Brienne's life or something, that'd be fine, but I'm not a Tormund and Brienne shipper, so.
Yeah, there's not really a romance there. He just wants to screw her. That's basically as far as it goes.
He wants to make babies with her, not just screw her. He wants to make babies. I mean, you need the screwing to make the baby, but he wants to make
in theory
her and rule the world. That is not the man that Brienne deserves. No. And neither is Jaime, as far as I'm concerned. But if Tormund died, my heart would break. I was screaming north of the wall when I thought Tormund was about to go. But that's the kind of hurt that I want this season, so I will take it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the showrunners are going to be happy to oblige all of us as far as that goes. So,
There are also the few characters that will actually see action this episode, because last we saw them, they were at the wall being destroyed. So they're going to have to flee in some sense to make it to Winterfell. So they're just the most likely to actually die in some sort of combat way.
Yeah, very true. All right, everyone. I think that about does it for tonight's live stream. We're going to wrap it up, give everybody a chance to, pour themselves a drink, have their dinner, get themselves ready for their party if they're having one. But I want to thank again everybody for stopping by. Christine, it was fabulous to have you on. One more time, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and such?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. This was fantastic. I can't imagine a better way of enjoying my time before the premiere starts than talking with you guys. But you can find me on Twitter at KippinSK. That's KIPPINSK. And also as a frequent contributor on Your Watch Begins, which is a Game of Thrones podcast that can be found on SoundCloud and Spotify.
All right. Fantastic. Let's see here. So Vanessa had to leave us a little bit early. I guess I'll plug on her behalf real quick. I know that you can follow Vanessa on Twitter at VKColeArtist. Please do. Her stuff is fantastic. Bex was able to join us for a little bit tonight, and then she had some technical difficulties. But you can also find Bex on Twitter at Starkalypse. Please do follow her during episodes, because she tweets amazing things, and they're always very amusing. All right, Akash, where can people find you, sir?
People can find me at Akash Smarts on Twitter.
Okay. And Matt, last but not least.
So right after the episode, I'm going to be on my YouTube channel by the same name, youtube.com/JoeMagician. I'm going to be doing like a half hour to an hour, just sort of live reaction thing. So anybody that wants to join in with that, that'd be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to be just me like silently weeping in front of a camera, just like sliding down in my chair, unable to deal with what I just saw. But you can also find me on Twitter at JoeMagician42, and on the Maester Monthly podcast, we'll be doing the normal thing we did for the other seasons, where it's called a clone tankard, where we just get drunk. No, not drunk. We just have a few drinks, and then we just sort of talk about the episode for a half hour to 45 minutes and put it out as a produced thing. So
a few drinks. Okay.
Yeah, a few.
Okay. Just kidding. All right. Fantastic. And once again, myself, I am Samantha. I'm contributing writer to WatchersOnTheWall.com. You can find me on Twitter at @TheSansaSnark. I will also plug one other thing for myself real quick. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be on a fabulous NPR program that's called 1A. It's on every weekday from 10 to noon, and they are devoting the entire first hour tomorrow to Game of Thrones. And I am lucky enough to be on that. So if you want, you can hear me on the radio. You can download the NPR app. You can just go to wamu.org, their website, and you can hear it there. So would love it if y'all would tune in and listen to me babble, much like you have done tonight. So yeah, thank you again so much, everybody, for being here, for our contributors for being here, and listeners, viewers, thank you so much for joining us. This was our first live stream, and a lot of nerves flying around for me. I'm just really glad to see the love and support for the podcast going live. So. All right. Thanks for making the trip to Castle Black, everyone, and joining us for this episode of the Knights Cast. Once again, you can find the podcast on Twitter at Knights Cast and on iTunes and SoundCloud. Thanks again, and we will see you all next time.